Welcome to Beyond the Page, the official podcast of Choice, the magazine of professional coaching, where we bring you amazing insights and in-depth features you just won't find anywhere else. I'm your host, Gary Schleifer, and I'm very excited to expand your learning as we dive into the latest articles, have a chat with the brilliant author. Which way does this go? I don't know. I'll just do like this, behind some of the articles that are transforming the coaching world. When you have a chance, join our vibrant community of coaching professionals as we explore even more groundbreaking ideas, share expert tips and techniques, and make a real difference in our clients' lives. Remember, this is your go-to resource for all things coaching. But for now, let's dive into this article. In today's episode, I'm speaking with leadership and career development coach Flo LaBrado, who's the author of an article in our latest issue, Trust. Why is it intrinsic to coaching? Her article is entitled Cultivating Trust, a Catalyst for Powerful Coaching. A little bit about Flo. She holds an MSML, a CPCC, which I'm sure is with the Coactive Training Group, same as me, empowers individuals to flourish and align their work with their life's purpose. As a leader and career development coach, she helps professionals make work a vibrant expression of who they are and build healthy organizations. Flo blends coaching, academic research, and practical expertise from 20 plus years of leadership experience to support individuals and teams. She is a trust at work practitioner. She'll have to tell me about that one, and holds multiple certifications in leadership and change. She also has a BA in psychology and an MS in leadership and management. Flo, thank you so much for joining me today. What's trust at work practitioner? No wonder you wrote the article. So,
Yes. So Charles Feltman, who also wrote a feature in the same issue as I did, is a trust expert. He wrote the thin book of trust, and he offers a course which is called Trust at Work. And I believe enrollment is open right now for the fall cohort. And it's a wonderful course to deepen our expertise on trust and how to bring it into one-on-one coaching and working with organizations. And after, several weeks of training and practice and whatnot, I did earn my certification as a trust at work practitioner, which really impacted how I coach, how I lead, but also my relationships in life.
oh, awesome. Well, I had the great privilege of having Charles as my co-lead for this issue. He helped me with just everything from the beginning to the end, and I very, very much appreciate it. So thank you for mentioning him and for mentioning his course. He is also being podcasted, interviewed as well coming up. So we'll see how that goes, and he can tell us more about his program. Um, you revealed a little something about, I'd say, call it chomping at the bit to deliver this article. Tell me more about that.
And so I care a lot about trust, even before I was a coach, even before all of that. It aligns very closely with my personal values of love and respect and openness.
Hmm.
And trust not only doesn't make or break relationships, but it also impacts how we experience being and moving throughout the world. And
Right.
so when I did get, talking with Charles, I learned that there would be a trust issue. I immediately knew what I wanted to write about. And the article, I think I wrote it in one afternoon.
Wow. This is a
It was
brilliant
a
piece
great.
of work. I really appreciate it. And how you folded in some of Charles' teaching as well was brilliantly done. Some things that we want to know because it is called Beyond the Page. So what you couldn't fit in or tell us more about. So you talked a lot about trust in the relationship, but how do we train clients in the language of trust?
Oh, see, that's a good question because it is similar to how we train clients and anything else related to coaching. I'm sure we've all had the experience of having a client that has experienced coaching before and a client who doesn't know what coaching is, but they have a feeling that they need a little bit of help, right? And so as in the contracting stage, we train clients on all kinds of things, even in the discovery conversations we talk about what deep listening might be or the difference between coaching and mentoring so that they know what kind of relationship they're about to enter. We talk about the difference between coaching and consulting and coaching and mental health and all these other things, right? Well, trust is another one that we can teach clients the language of trust,
Mhm.
so that it's more than a value, it's more than a moral issue, but a set of skills that can be used to strengthen the coaching relationship. Like, for example, and I have trust written into my client agreements so that from the get-go, the client knows what I mean by trust and what they can expect from me, but also what I need from them for a trust-filled, healthy, powerful coaching relationship.
Okay, you said that now. You said it in the article. Give me an example of what is in your agreement.
Here's what I mean. For example, so I talk about care, and these are the four distinctions of trust that Charles will talk about in his interview. But I talk about care. Care isn't just a fuzzy, warm feeling. Care means that I, as a coach, I am responsible to keep the client's interests, their big picture hopes and dreams and goals at the center of the relationship, and that they can trust me to not just care about my business and my part or to hold my own agenda, but to honor their goals and their agenda. And that kind of care allows us to hold the client even before completely entering the coaching relationship. Another way is just being sincere and being honest, and that's hard, right? As coaches, we may wrestle with the tension of how far to challenge, how far to sort of nudge the client into a space that may be unfamiliar, or helping them to see something, articulate something that the client may not see or may not want to see. And so we get to be sincere and honest and say the hard things that may need to be said. But there's also reliability, and reliability seems like, basics, but showing up on time, following up when we say we're going to follow up, keeping the commitments that we make. And then also showing the client that, maybe they're coming to us because they're having trouble keeping their own commitments and they need our help, right? In the coaching relationship, we get to model that reliability and that consistency, so that they can feel, one, tethered and related and seen in their relationship, but also get to see what it looks like to be reliable and consistent. And then competence. Competence can be really hard, right? Some coaches may have really tight niches, others may have a sort of like a broad umbrella of people that they want to serve. But it's really important that we're honest about our competence and not stretching the boundaries of what we're really capable to do, because these people in this relationship, the coaching relationship, they are in our care.
Yeah, yeah, they are. Well, thank you for those examples. In reading the article, I've decided on a few more items, especially when I have my first conversation with a client. I work for do some work with platforms, and
Mhm.
platforms establish a certain setup, and then it's like over to the coach and the client. And from reading your article, I've come to realize that there's a few more things that I can say in the beginning of the conversation, other than things like, it's not recorded, you don't have to report to anybody, all that sort of stuff. But I've a little bit more about the technology and not use of technology, things like that. I do say it's not recorded, but I could also, clarify that a little bit more. But there's other things too, like what you said about uh, being on time, reliability. I think I can expand a little bit on that conversation. Not a lot, but just, some nuances as a result of reading the article. Speaking of technology, how do we grapple with this use of digital technologies and in the world of trust, especially with this new AI? It seems to be everywhere.
It is everywhere, and it this is an important topic to focus on because it's not going away. And even I know wonderful, brilliant coaches, right? Who only take notes on paper and do not keep anything electronically. But even then, the coach that is mostly analog usually talks about things like how they store their records, how they destroy those pieces of paper after the coaching engagement, and all of those things, right? How they might keep things, whether it's in a filing cabinet, in a part of their office, or whatever it is. Similarly, we get to do and communicate with transparency how we use digital technologies. from anything as basic as email correspondence
Mm,
or where we store our client agreements. All of those things are really important. So even if a coach chooses to not use recording, to not use AI transcription or anything like that, we're still keeping records somewhere. And it is really important that we are transparent and honor the client's autonomy in that, so that the client has an opportunity to say, you know what, no, I don't like that. I don't want you to take any notes. I don't want you to store my information this way or that way. And through that process, we're also cultivating trust because we're being forthcoming with how we use digital technologies and also trusting the client to push back and tell us what will work and will not work for them. And that's not even getting to AI and automation,
mm.
right?
Yeah.
That can be really tricky, right? We have all these, wonderful marketing experts who are telling us, create an app or create a bot and teach it all your knowledge so that your clients can reach out for help 24 hours a day. And that may work for someone's business model, not mine, but it may work for someone, right? It is really important to be upfront. If using an app or a chatbot or anything like that, it's important to make it very clear that this is not a human interacting with the client in that moment. Um, and it sounds really like basic, like a given. Like, of course it's AI, of course it's not a human, but we need to be upfront about that. That's how we build trust.
Well, you're talking to somebody who is building an AI coach, Gary, and I've always been
Mhm.
upfront and transparent with what's going on. And what I'm hearing in this conversation, and also realizing for myself, is that it's an iterative process, and that I will I ever handle every aspect of trust for every client? No. Am I open to listening and working with that client to increase their trust? Definitely. Right. So, to those that are listening, if you don't have your agreement a certain way and you don't have a conversation, just notice that and make some decisions on where. So, for example, when you were saying let the client push back, I've come to realize I don't give them the opportunity to push back. I tell them what I'm doing. I don't ask them if that's okay. I ask them if they understand, but I don't ask them if it's okay. So that simple nuance of checking with the client to say, is that okay? And do you have any questions about that? And then they could ask about emails or all that sort of stuff as well, right? So thank you. Wow.
And also, and if I may, and it's also the reverse, right? So I have this client that I'm working with. Full disclosure, I'm Generation X. He's definitely Generation Gen Z. And I have a client that I'm working with, that I began working with a few months ago. And because most of my clients do not want me to record, transcribe, use I entered the discovery conversation assuming he didn't want the same. And I
Mm,
never asked.
mm,
And the beautiful thing that happened was that he pushed back and said, hey, I'd rather us record the conversations and transcribe them because it will help me.
mm,
And that helped me to realize that it's not only about disclosing about the use of digital technologies, but also if I do technically have options to offer them and allow the client to lead how they want to be served. And there may also be a situation where the coach and the client are not a good match in that situation, and that is okay. But let's put things on the table and have an honest and trust-filled conversation.
yeah. Wow. Never thought of the client asking for that. That's an interesting perspective. Seems
New
I'm
for
too
me.
much in control of these conversations. I got to lighten up a little. Oh my goodness. So you said something earlier about trust and things like that. And how do we address the diverse perspectives and values associated with trust? I mean, you just gave some great examples, right?
And trust means so many different things, and it's such a unique experience. Oftentimes, how we trust, how we extend trust, how we handle when trust is broken is informed by our upbringing, our cultures, our life experiences. And that is a beautiful thing. It's part of what makes each person unique and creative and different. However, what happens when there's a little bit of a clash?
Mm,
Or a possibility for conflict. And that is where the language of trust can help us find alignment or decide how to trust wisely, where to extend trust, where maybe to withhold for a little bit longer until we learn more. And without that language, that literacy around trust, it makes it really hard to create that alignment. So, for example, for me, like I mentioned, trust is very related to my personal values. To someone else, trust might feel like it's a black or white, yes or no, there or not there situation. Where for me, because I'm bringing that trust literacy, I understand trust to be a value, but also it can be something that is extended along the spectrum, and we can extend it and pull back as needed. By having the language, a client and a coach can align on how they want to handle trust, how they want to talk about it, what the boundaries are for each one. And that allows us to find the alignment for a healthy working coaching relationship, without causing unnecessary conflict or creating a situation where the coaching container is no longer safe.
Yeah. You may remind me that Charles and I worked on a sticky situation for our panel, and it dealt with loss of trust. And it just reminds me that it's not a one and done. It's not at the beginning, and it's like it's ongoing. I mean, beginning is the foundation, the first conversations, the contract, things like that. But trust is ongoing. For example, reliability, that's an ongoing conversation. Showing up, don't overstate yourself, competence, things like that. So, yeah, thanks for that reminder. Speaking of things that affect trust, how do we respond when trauma is a barrier to trust?
Oh, that's a really good question. And this first, I want to say that this is where competence is really important.
Mm,
If a coach, and we know that there is a line where coaching ends and should not extend beyond that. So it's really important to be aware of our skills and where coaching ends, and where mental health support
mm,
might be needed in tandem with coaching, or maybe coaching needs to be paused to focus on something else. And that's important to bring up in trauma, with working with someone who is healing from or experiencing the effects of a traumatic experience. It's also important for us as coaches, even if we don't work with trauma, to be trauma informed, so that
mm,
even if the client is unable to articulate in that moment that they're experiencing a flare up of the effects of trauma, for us to be able to see it, to notice when a conversation goes from really passionate to someone losing their words or becoming more agitated or completely shut down, or maybe even fawning in the coaching relationship, right? And so it is important for us to be informed so that we can notice those things and possibly articulate them when necessary, and continue to hold the trust and to earn the trust of the client. But it's so important for us to not step into something that is beyond our skill set and our professional recommendation. It can be tempting, right? But that is a time when we may want to pause and potentially refer the client to someone
yeah,
else.
yeah. Yeah, I've had some experiences recently with clients with, well, what they've declared as ADHD. I don't know if it was diagnosed or not. And then we have a conversation about whether coaching is the right thing for them at this time. And they reveal to me where they are in that journey. And sometimes there's medication, sometimes there's therapy, things like that. So, we determine whether or not we should continue collaboratively. Yeah,
And
thank you
it's
for
wonderful
that.
that you said we determined. That means that holding the container and honoring the client's autonomy and voice in the process. And that right there is a trust building conversation.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Thanks for pointing that example out. See, I'm already doing it. And I want to shout out to the authors that have been submitting, and we published some articles about trauma-informed coaching. There's many resources for that, so don't forget to check the pages of choice and elsewhere for information about trauma and being trauma-informed. Thanks for that reminder, Flo. Um, Flo, we limited you to 1,400 words. What else did you want to say that you didn't get in there?
Oh my gosh. One of the things that I wanted to say, but probably would have been more appropriate for another issue, is how do we handle trust when there are cultural differences?
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I did consider writing for the DEI issue, but I was focused on the trust issue. And
You could have done both, Flo. You could have done both.
challenging me to overachieve. But yeah, and
Trust
it is.
yourself.
Right? But it can be tricky. We know that we are trained as coaches to be able to support anyone in just about any circumstance because we believe in people's potential to shift from striving to thriving and moving toward wholeness and aliveness. But what happens when a client wants someone who shares their lived experience? Or maybe the client has reservations about contracting or hiring a coach who maybe doesn't share their lived experience. What do we do with trust? Or what if the client has made their selection of a coach and they struggle with trust because of lived experiences? And this is where that language of trust is so important because it can help articulate the how to care for someone who may hesitate to allow the coach to care for them, or how to be reliable in a way that will resonate for the client so that they are more likely to be invested in the coaching relationship. And there are definitely cultural differences and cultural different ways to approach trust. I use an example. I have a client from the United States who lives in a different country. And so he is dealing with different cultural norms and he's struggling with how to build trust in that culture. And so we've used the trust language to help him relate better with the people around him. We've also used the trust language to sort of challenge each other in this sort of tricultural culture relationship where here I am, Dominican American, living in the United States, coaching an American client, living in in a different country, right?
Right.
And so that can get really messy, but it can also be really beautiful. It's part of our humanity. And with all the differences, we can create a common foundation with the language of trust.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Fun too, right? Like
Very
this.
fun.
I
A lot of fun.
love it. Well, thank you for all those examples. Um, Flo, what would you like our audience to do as a result of the article in this conversation?
Oh my gosh, if I can ask, so many questions that I ask myself to explore.
Hmm.
But my one request would be for all of us coaches, whomever we serve, whether private, one-on-one, team, organizations, whatever it is, to use the language of trust to help our clients build trust in themselves, in the coaching relationship, and the people in our lives. I believe that trust building can help us overcome so many challenges.
Hmm.
It can help us to create a space where people say the dreams that they dare not speak out loud.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so by creating trust in a relationship, powerful, beautiful things can happen.
It's such an honor to be witness to these things that the clients are sharing with us. How many times I've had a conversation with a client, and they're like, "Wow, I can't believe I told you that. I don't think I've told anybody that." And I'm like, "Oh,
Like, thank you. Or when
yeah."
they hesitate to say something and we hold that silence a little longer while they
Mhm.
work on courage and finally say what they didn't think they could say. And then I usually feel goosebumps when that happens. And
Right?
that's a special moment that I believe is not possible without trust.
Yeah. Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. Wow. I am learning so much, which is why I love doing Choice, creating Choice Magazine, and doing these interviews. So thank you very much, Flo. What's the best way for people to reach you to find out more about you?
And thank you, Gary. So I'm on LinkedIn, Flo LaBrado. I joke that I'm on LinkedIn 6.5 days a week. And so a lot, but definitely on LinkedIn. And I'm also really active on email, flow@oliveandgraceleadership.com. And I love to hear and connect with other coaches so that we can continue to support each other and learn together.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining us for this Beyond the Page episode, Flo.
Thank you, Gary.
That's it for this episode of Beyond the Page. For more episodes, subscribe via the podcast app that got you here in the first place. Maybe it was even Choice Magazine's page. If you're not a subscriber to Choice Magazine and you're watching this video, you can sign up for a free digital issue by scanning the QR code in the top right-hand corner of our screen. Oh, I got it right that time. Pointing. If you're listening, you can go to choice-online.com and click the Sign Up Now button. I'm Gary Schleifer. Enjoy the journey of mastery.